So this is our part 2 video for this morning, our print density part of the class. And after watching the video, you'll need to select an image that's going to work well for you for the test, something that's got an even range of tones. This photograph is a good representation of that. Convert it to black and white because this is going to be an easier thing to work on in black and white. Density, we're thinking just how light or dark and the contrast levels of the image, and that's the guide that we want to be working on. The last assignment in the packet is our color wheel assignment, and that's where we'll be doing a similar thing with color. It'll be more complex, but we'll be making multiple small color adjustments to one image, and that will be a great tool for adjusting color in the print room when we're printing as well. But print density is the thing that we're thinking about this morning. The first thing will be, well, making a black and white conversion of the image. And actually I've got a couple of other images in here as well. This one too light, overexposed, this one just about right. And the first thing, I use this just as a guide. First of all, most of the time we're going to be looking at images that are probably slightly underexposed rather than over. But if we do end up with an image that's overexposed like this, we need to make adjustments. Curves is our go-to. First of all, if we look at the histogram, let's move it to a place where we can still see a part of the image. This left-hand side, for an overexposed image, we can see the flat line down here. And we need to be a little bit careful about bringing this in. But as I bring that slider in, you'll see the image getting darker. I'll do that a couple of times. Just look at the image as I bring it down. And it adds in contrast as I do that as well. Not only does it make the image darker, but it brings in contrast. But if we look at the image, we can see, especially on the back of the kayak here, it's blown out detail here. And so I'm going to do my three-part, try and arrange this histogram so we can see most of the image. First of all, I'm going to darken the image. As I do that, it increases the contrast quite dramatically. Being an overexposed image, I'm more interested in these blown out areas. So I'm going to look at bringing down further those areas first of all, and then bringing up the shadow end. That's going to flatten out the image. I've adjusted the rate of change between highlight and shadow area within the image, which is our definition for contrast, of course. So first of all, our kind of baseline image, we want to get it as close as we can. If it was an underexposed image, I don't have an underexposed image, but we'll look at the histogram again on this. We'd be looking at the opposite. Rather than a flat line at this end, a flat line here. And very often, if you're having a really bad day with a dark print, go to the histogram, look at that first of all. And the likelihood is you've got a histogram that comes up here, comes down here, and it's flatlining all the way along here. In which case, you're going to bring this line up to where the curve really starts to kick in, and then make adjustments from there. All right, I'm going to go back to this image. You want to convert the image to black and white. I'd use the black and white tool to do that, where you can use the different color sliders to adjust the image. And let's see if I can go back on this. Here we go. So starting here, image adjustments, black and white. We can adjust the sliders that are going to have an impact on the way that different colors interact. And I'm thinking right in here is where it's going to be. Once we're happy with that initial conversion, then we can look at the histogram in curves and check we're okay with a kind of baseline print. And actually, what I'm going to suggest is that first of all, you lighten the print to about this point. And for this adjustment on curves, don't do anything with the shadows or the highlight end. Just stick with that center adjustment. And I've lifted it midway point between these two big area blocks on this grid here. And I'm going to hit OK. And you'll need to make a test print. And you could do a smaller size print for this. Doesn't have to be the 8.5 by 11. You'll use less paper if we do that. Make that first test print. Then go out into the main foyer area. Do not stay in the print room. Look at that print against what you're looking at on the screen. Does it match? And does the print look too light, too dark, or about right? If it is about right, then save that file as correct. And ultimately, we want to have 3 files, put them in a new folder so that you've got them separate. And if you can put them on the desktop, if you've got a Mac or somewhere very accessible on your PC, that would be good as well. And you could call it density test image. Density test image will work well for that. So the first image, if it's too dark, you can then save that file as too dark. If it's too light, you can save that file as too light. But that first image, most of the time, as I say, we're going to be looking at prints that are a little bit too dark, which is why I suggest that we start by printing the lighter one first of all and seeing what that looks like. And okay, what we want to do is end up with a print that looks good. And that's ultimately the thing that we're looking at here. The final output is the critical thing. What I want you to do is have 3 files. So that first image, if it's looking good, then we've saved that at the lighter as correct, in which case I'd go back to the base image, the first image that you start with, and again, image adjustments, curves. This time, we'll bring it all the way here. And of course, what we're looking at on screen is very, very bright. But then we can print this file out and depending on what that print looks like, then save that file accordingly. It may be that this image becomes the one that's too light. You may find that this image is the correct image, in which case we have to go even further on our adjustments. So first of all, we want to get our image that is correct and too light. And then once we've done that, we can go the other way, end up with an image that is too dark. And so here again, we'll come down to that midway point first of all, work on that image. So print that image and look at that print and see how it's looking. If it looks too dark, just save that file as too dark and you're good to go. If it's not, if that looks correct, then that becomes your correct image. Save that file as correct and then make another print, bring it down even darker, and then that will be your too dark file. For today, the final print, what I'd like you to do is a contact sheet with your three images. Correct, too light, too dark. And you can have them, make sure you've got one column and one row so that they're stacked above each other. You might want to call too light 01, correct 02, and too dark 03. If you do that at the beginning of your file name, then they'll stack in the correct order and you'll have the correct one right in the middle there. And hope that makes sense. And it should do. And then do a print of the correct one as well, your correct final density image. Keep those files ready, and the idea is that when you're struggling to get a really, really good final print, that you can use this on your screen as a guide to know how bright or how dark you want that image to be. Of course, we've only got a limited number of printers, so work as a team. Don't hog the printers. I think everybody first off, once you've made that first print, then rotate off and wait for a space to arrive so that everybody has a chance to get that print made. If you don't get it done today, then don't worry, just get as far as you can, and everybody should be able to get that first print out. And even if you don't get the final thing completely done this morning, then there'll be other time when we can work on that and get that done. So don't panic on that. It is classwork. It's important that we get this done, and it's important that we have this ready for our exhibition print that we're going to be working on later in the week. Okay, hope it makes sense. Miss Henderson's there. Hope it makes sense to her too. All right, thanks everyone.